Not long ago, Nintendo announced Metroid 5, Metroid Dread. I have been saying for years that in order for the Metroid series to grow, there needs to be a game set after Fusion. And I didn't even know about the Dread project that's been in the works since 2005. I also knew this would be a very difficult task, due to the state Fusion left the story in, and that we've gotten more than 8 Metroid games since then, all crammed in this small time frame before Fusion, is a good indication I was right. So finally, Samus and Metroid can grow out of this time frame, and the story can reach for something new. The galaxy is their oyster, you bet I'm excited. So I thought we should look at the 4 games that brought us here. Metroid for the NES, Metroid 2 Return of Samus, Super Metroid, and Metroid Fusion. I love the Metroid games, and it's a bit surprising more of them aren't on this channel, though I have played Super a few dozen times. What I enjoy most by far is the exploration and atmosphere. Even if there ends up only being one place you can go or one thing you can do, the feeling of going in blind and finding that yourself is the best. Metroid also has a really creepy, otherworldly atmosphere. The loneliness and otherworldliness adds a lot to how you feel while exploring, and makes for an amazing aesthetic. So let's go back to the beginning, and I do mean the beginning, to see where it all started. The NES Metroid and Metroid Zero Mission cover the same story, with Zero Mission being released for a more recent system, expanding on the gameplay of the original and adding a section of the game after the final boss where you play without your power suit, and get some indication of Samus's history on Zebes. While I believe Zero Mission has supplanted the NES game as canon in the Metroid series is complicated to say the least. There are numerous games and supplemental materials that have been deemed non-canon that still added something to the canon that's referenced in later games, and parts of one game that contradict or retcon another game. The entire Prime series has been dubbed a side story, which really means that it is canon, but if they conflict with canon anywhere else, don't worry about it. So my best advice is to take in as much information as you can and make your own canon from it. Back to the NES Metroid. This was our first interaction with the Metroid series, but wasn't the beginning of the story. A short manga, simply titled Metroid, which ran in Magazine Z in 2003, details Samus's past and leads up to Zero Mission. The manga was released after Fusion, but before Zero Mission, and also expands on plot points introduced in Fusion dealing with Samus's past. While the manga isn't considered strictly canon, it does introduce many elements that are referenced in Zero Mission, Fusion, and most infamously in Other M. By the way, if you're interested in another M playthrough by someone who doesn't hate the game, I've already done one here on the channel. So if it isn't strictly canon, something like the manga did happen. As it is important, I would like to detail some of the manga. The story that was introduced by Fusion, leading to the manga, Zero Mission, and ultimately Other M, is what showed Samus as a more complicated, arguably weaker character, with a lot of emphasis put on how vulnerable she can be and how good and helpful she is as a person. Just so you're aware. If you want Samus just being awesome, go read Samus and Joey. It's also good to understand that Samus didn't really have a characterization for the first 3 games, instead just appearing as a hardened, powerful bounty hunter, doing her part to make the galaxy a better place, and many people, myself included, grew up with this Samus. This was changed when Fusion came out, as they started fleshing Samus and her past out, but they didn't really go all in until Other M. The manga begins with Samus as a child, living a happy life with her parents on colony K2L. Two Chozo visit the colony, named Old Bird and Gray Voice, in order to obtain some supplies. The Chozo have been very important to the growth of the civilized universe and the Galactic Federation, and so when the space pirates, led by Ridley, noticed the Chozo leaving the planet, they decided to investigate. And by investigate, I mean kill everyone. Ridley nearly kills Samus before her mother pushes her out of the way, being killed in her place. Samus's father dies blowing up a compound in order to stop the pirates. This explosion engulfs Ridley, saving Samus. Receiving a distress signal from K2L, the Chozo return to find only Samus. They take her into their care and return to their home, planet Zebus. In order to survive on the harsh environment of Zebus, they modify Samus's DNA to make her part Chozo, gift her with the power armor, and train her to fight. Old Bird and Gray Voice become like surrogate parents to her. Here she also meets Mother Brain, the large computer built by the Chozo to gather information, manage background operations, and help guide the Chozo with decision-making. Samus doesn't take warmly to Mother Brain, as she always comes across as very cold, always making the most statistically logical decisions. Samus grows up and eventually leaves Zebus to join the Galactic Federation, where she works under Adam Malkovich. It's also at this time that Old Bird gathers the Chozo Elders to discuss the future of their race, or rather the lack thereof, as the Chozo are dying out and will likely not live to see galactic peace. One of the largest concerns he shows is of a parasite located on planet SR-388, which he calls the X, and shows off a new weapon they have created to deal with this parasite: the Metroid. Shortly after that, the space pirates attack Zebus, quickly gaining control over it. The Federation gets ready to send a large force in to assist. Mobilizing this force is going to take just long enough for Samus and her two squad mates, with Adam's reluctant blessing, to go to Zebus first. They arrive and quickly make their way to Torian, where Mother Brain is, though get separated on the way, with Samus arriving first. Here we learn that Mother Brain is working with the space pirates, and has effectively taken control of them. She explains the space pirates are weak-willed and will naturally follow a strong leader. It was easy for her to convince them she was a suitable leader. She plans to use this force to wipe out what's left of the Chozo, calling them obsolete, and take over the galaxy, achieving peace in her own way. Ridley appears when Samus refuses to join Mother Brain, with the intent to kill Samus. This causes her to panic and suffer from a PTSD attack. Ridley recognizes Samus and explains he survived the explosion by regaining his strength by eating human flesh. Samus flashes back to a scene which indicates she may have witnessed Ridley eating her parents. The PTSD attack worsens to the point she cannot breathe, cannot stand, and is unable to maintain her power suit, and even wishes for death. Her two squad mates arrive, rescuing her and retreating, with the planet turning against them, and the Federation arriving, war breaking out. As they flee the planet amidst chaos, Samus regains her composure and is determined to end what Mother Brain and Ridley have done. Several years later, Samus has left the Federation to work as a bounty hunter, often working with the Federation and gaining a powerful reputation. The Federation has tried and failed to retake Zebus and commissions Samus to go in solo, warning her that Mother Brain has weaponized the entire planet, turning it into a fortress. This introduction isn't too far removed from the story in the NES Metroid's instruction manual, which spoke of how powerful Samus and her suit are, and that the Galactic Federation hired her as a last resort to take Zebus back from Mother Brain and the Space Pirates. The English manual seems to be a direct translation of the Japanese one. And so Samus has managed to successfully penetrate Zebus, and our story begins.